Media Studios in Nipaluna, Hobart, Tasmania. I am your guest. No. Host, Dr. Craig. Joined by Lord Taylor. Hey, Lord Taylor.
Hello.
And B.A. Zeke.
I'm B.A.Ak.
That's right. You want to fulfill that joke?
Oh, B.A.Ak from the dead?
Yes. So B.A. Zeke, Lord Taylor, Father Lord Taylor,
Yep.
Lord Father Taylor, Dr. Craig. So today we're going to be exploring, as always, how media can shape our understanding of the world around us. We're streaming over as much media as we can to maximize our impact on society. So we're on edgeradio.org.au, YouTube, and Twitch. You can message us if you dare on SMS 0488811707, or follow us up on the chat at on the YouTube or Twitch chat. Now today's topic is what happens when you combine one of the greatest detectives of all time with the latest advancement in artificial intelligence. So pretty much what we've been doing for the last month. I think. The answer might surprise you, which is such a cliche of a thing to say. But the answer might surprise you. It will surprise you in terms of my effort to put it together, and our co-hosts. So join us as we explore the latest media culture news and fascinating world of deconstructing chatbots in Sherlock Holmes radio dramas. It's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
There's moments in the show where I'm just kind of like, where's
I've
my...
searched and examined, but I still...
Man, I just got to do a quick Google search. What software auto stops after a tune? It happens every time. Then I gotta go backwards. Okay. You're listening to Media Mothership here on Edge Radio 99.3. I'm Dr. Craig, joined by B.A. Zeke and Lord Taylor. News. Let's jump straight into news, because I've been quite excited about the news that I've come across over the last week. So the first story I want to look at is someone's used Unreal Engine 5 to turn Tokyo into a playable anime that you can explore right now. And this is reported on GamesRadar. So basically the story breaks down how a creator, Yan Ru, made Anime Tokyo. And it's a realistic and, the article claims, beautifully recreated version of Tokyo in the Unreal Engine 5 software. The project showcases the features of Unreal Engine 5, such as Lumen, Nanite, and ray tracing.
Do you know what you're talking about?
No, I don't. But it is a summary of this article. The demo is available for free and has 3 different modes: sunny mode, overcast mode, and anime plus mode? Or just anime mode? I think just anime mode.
Okay.
The project's...
Anime Plus is what it says, yeah.
Yeah, because I imagine there's just anime mode, and then he thought, we've got to take that to the next level. Mm-hmm. Anime Plus.
Anime Plus doesn't mean anything sort of like adult related either. It says that it puts a beautiful pinkish blue filter over the presentation as well.
Yes. And so it's interesting how he's defining anime in this space, because it's very much that cute shoujo space. I've got to dabble in it if my computer can withstand the unleashing of Anime Tokyo into it. But yes, it seems like from the video I was watching, your avatar is kind of an anime girl, and you're running around the city. It's not a game per se, though. I immediately went into GTA mode, wishing there was kind of some unlocks and suddenly, violence.
So it's just like a running simulator sort of thing.
Yeah. It seems that the thing that's really created interest around this is the effort to kind of for realism, authenticity. So it's this weird hybrid of fiction, obviously the Anime Plus thing and the filters, which are fictional. You don't really have that experience unless you're on mushrooms in Tokyo, I think.
Probably, yeah.
Probably, yeah. If you have been to Tokyo and had mushrooms, don't at all contact us. Just stay anonymous, please, for the love of God. But it does strike me as a very fictional version in terms of its lenses that it's applied, but it's got an aspect of reality to it. That is that the urban geography that it's created seems one-to-one. Certainly the run-through that I looked at immediately brought me back to pretty much a photorealistic Google streetscape view of this environment. But it's not Google streetscape. It's kind of GTA-like. So you think of the latest GTA game graphics with the accuracy of Google Streetscape.
The thing is, with this, once you throw it into a VR landscape, then I think that is what will really sell it, I think.
Look, I mean, it's tricky with the sense of vertigo when you're going in motion. I find, at least in the VR experience I've had, what I have to do is put a fan in front of me.
So do I. I do exactly the same thing.
Stop my gag impulses. Because it is interesting in terms of how, immersive VR is, but if you're standing still, your body knows you're standing still. And I was reading, the science behind this might be wrong. I read that, one of the reasons why you get car sick, similar to VR sick, is that your body is stationary, yet your eyes are seeing things in motion. And so allegedly, from this half-remembered Facebook post, it was saying, your body thinks it's being poisoned, right? It kind of decodes that and says, one other experiences in my genetic makeup have my body standing still, yet the world's spinning around me. It's poison, so I've got to get rid of that poison by throwing up. So allegedly, that's why you want to throw up when you're stationary in a car, yet the world around you is moving. Similarly with VR, why is our body triggering check that out if you could. Reality.
What is actually anime about it?
Well, okay, so it seems that the anime, so you can do those three different modes. Sunny mode, which I assume just
makes it sunny. Yeah.
Overcast mode, cloudy, and then anime mode. So it seems that there's a coloring lens which comes over it, as well as your avatar is an anime figure.
Right. How does that, is it just, but they're 3D models and stuff? They're not it's not drawing-esque, like a drawing or anything?
That's the interesting thing about it. It is 3D modeled, from what I can tell, in terms of the structures look highly realistic, and the actual geography and spacing of it looks highly realistic. But there is some stylism to it, and I was thinking it was reminding me quite a bit of one of my favorite theories. I should have a little stinger there. Craig's favorite theories. Techno-Orientalism. Because it has a bit of a techno-Orientalism vibe. This idea that for many Westerners, particularly if you're an anime or manga fan, you have this kind of exotic, often view of Asia or Japan as being this super techno place. Particularly if you're kind of a Akira, Ghost in the Shell, cyberpunk fan. Like me, you have this kind of techno-oriental fetish where you imagine you're going to go to Japan and it's going to be just like an anime and it's going to be super techno and super exotic. And you're going to have cat-haired girls with headphones, sailor suits. I won't go into that further. But yeah, techno-orientalism. So there's a bit of that in there, right? In terms of the Anime Plus version, to me, is techno-orientalism. It's interesting. It seems the designer is Asian himself. So then I would back that up with my second favorite theory, self-techno-orientalism, where the Oriental, within Said's notion of what Oriental means as a Western construct is then self-identified with. And
So do you self-identify as a techno-cyberpunk oriental, Craig?
well, I could be a techno-occidental. The that's why I left Australia to go to Japan for many years, because I didn't identify with Crocodile Dundee and the lack of any techno in Australia, that it was kind of koala
Country.
occidentalism.
Imagine that, like techno Australia. It's like techno Crocodile Dundee.
I think Australia can only go Mad Max, right? It's got to
Yeah,
be
that's true.
kind of, the techno aspect of Australia has got to be kind of post-nuclear fallout, half destroyed, cobbled together, Steve Earle.
Yeah, it kind of has to be like, like diesel cars.
Yeah.
Like or combustion engine cars, but
Yeah.
like modified.
A kind of
lot.
punk,
Yeah.
steam. The techno's there, but it's kind of knowledge we've lost
Yeah.
and we've had to reinvent or cobble together through reverse engineering. So yeah, I in fact, maybe this could be a project we could try. Does anyone have skills like this to do Hobart? Like we can do anime Hobart.
I wonder. I don't know. I wonder how hard
We
it
could
is
do
to.
Mad Max Hobart.
Yeah, I wonder how hard it is to model a city in Unreal.
Well, I mean, your point that I didn't know what I was talking about. Are you familiar with Lumen, nanite, and ray tracing? Did that mean anything?
I've heard them. Lumen, I would assume that's got something to do with lighting, as in like
Yeah,
lumens.
I would assume.
And then nanite, nah.
No.
Ray tracing, isn't that where it's like tracing the rays of light that comes off a particular object when it's in motion? I think it's something like that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it might have something to do with like motion blurring stuff, maybe.
I don't know.
The thing is, I saw this really interesting video in the week, and it was about it was someone who had modelled. So it's the same thing as sort of like ChatGPT, but it was with video. I can't remember what it's called, but it uses a particular model which it has heaps of anime people, and they took a video of someone dancing and applied that model to it, and it looked like a anime person dancing.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you mentioned dancing, because similarly, I came up with something half remembered around the training of AI on dancing, right? That one of the interesting things is people are trying to reverse engineer why the hell chatbots are suggesting bizarre things, and saying, well, they were trained on all this data, but it's only in their application that you're seeing some of the kind of inaccuracies of that training. And one of the interesting things was, the use of dance moves, right? You kind of, just dance and so forth, all the people doing the kind of choreographed routines and putting them up to Instagram and TikTok. And then some of the training was using similar images of dancing to help them identify bodies in motion for some of, the video algorithms, which then have been created. Dancing. Yeah. It's interesting. Okay, so the other thing, of course, during COVID was, I was getting really excited about doing virtual tourism. I can't leave my Australia, so I'll do it in my video game, right? So I know there was this thing like people were playing the Yakuza video game, which was set in Japan, and talking about how, it was just like, you could go into a cinema at certain points in the game and kind of immerse yourself in that.
During lockdown, right?
Yeah.
Because I have a VR set, and I'd just go into the main menu, which was like it's like the outside of this building, and you can see all of the sea and the sky and the trees and everything like that. And so I just sit in there, just in the main menu, because I couldn't go outside during lockdown.
Getting neck strain from the huge weight of the VR headset. No, look, it isn't. It is interesting with VR. I like your suggestion of this then being applied to VR to see where it could go.
It 100% will, because I think that is where the money is, I reckon, for this particular project.
Yeah. Look, it is interesting. And I guess the idea I'm interested by also is that fiction and reality, like it's saying it's doing both. It's doing both fiction in terms of, Go to anime Tokyo. So it's not Tokyo, it's anime Tokyo with all the stylism of that. And within that, the question is, well, what definition of anime is that? Is that the Akira anime where I'm going to get turned into a giant cyborg monster? Cool. Or is that the kind of Ghibli, My Neighbor Totoro, kind of cute, whimsical slice of life anime where I'm not going to be eaten by a monster? Well, I could be if it's the Spirited Away.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that one either.
That'd be
Sorry.
pretty cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's a question definitions of what the anime fiction is, that it's powered, and within that, of course, questions of if you lived in Tokyo, how you would feel about this fake image of this world, that this isn't the Tokyo you wake up to, right? You can imagine a salaryman saying, Tokyo is a soul-crushing, dispiriting work environment, which is driving me to lose my mind. Something like that, right? Not everyone enjoys.
But think about it. Like, if there was a VR app which allowed you to look at Hobart, to walk around Hobart,
Yes.
and it was either done in this anime style or in the Mad Max style, and you could see, I think it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Well, see, the thing that I find really interesting about that is there was a really interesting research project done by a sociologist here at UTAS 10, 15 years ago, doing a research project on players of Grand Theft Auto and asking them how their gameplay of Grand Theft Auto, because they were like really into it, how their playing of it changed their view of Hobart. And some of the data was really interesting. Some of the people said they never really saw Hobart as being an international or kind of at all city, right? They saw it as a kind of regional, very much how that football player, Hawks captain said, nothing happens in Launceston and Hobart. It's a place I'd never want to live, right? That view of it. So people saying, I never thought Hobart had anything to offer. But after playing GTA, when I drive by Hungry Jack's and see a group of kids in beanies, I think, that's the gang. That's the gang mission that's there. There's a little mission I can pull over, talk to those beanie teenagers, and unlock the gang mission in Hobart. And he was saying, like, there's sometimes when I'm just frustrated and there's a wrong one-way road, and I suddenly think in GTA I could drive up that one-way road and go on the thing. So it transformed.
As a person who has played GTA 5 quite a lot, I can't remember, it was like 900 hours or something like that on Steam. I play it in first-person mode, so it's like I'm in the car, and I noticed that my real driving was getting so bad because of it. Within the game, I forced myself to stay within the road rules of the game.
Yes.
I love
So
that.
what are examples as you were driving in the real world where you said, I got to get back into road rules?
Well, it's like you're just driving along and you just suddenly feel like if I just went like that, I could just like swerve and speed around the corner.
Yes. Yeah. Look, because it is interesting, because there are moments in the real world where you'll just have that feeling of frustration. And in the game world, those same feelings happen, right? You've got a mission, you've got a timed mission you got to get through, and there's a lot of traffic at the intersection. And you have that feeling, oh, bugger. But in the game, that feeling disappears because you just plow through.
Yeah.
Right? So, I can understand. Obviously, you're not a crazy person.
Yeah, well, I mean...
And it kind of says, and I do it.
But also the fact it was like, one of the best things to do in the game, obviously, is to knock people over. And I wasn't going to say that I was going to be doing that either.
There's another interesting research paper on that point where this guy was watching a kid play GTA, and it was one of the taxi missions where I can't remember which GTA game it was in, but it was explaining how he was watching the kid play this taxi mission. And as he was playing it in the taxi, he'd hit a pedestrian, and the pedestrian would fall over. There'd be some kind of dynamic of pain. But then it would stand up and it would get in the taxi and drive off, right? And the guy that was watching the teenager play this game was thinking, oh, well, this is everything that they want about games, right? It's violent, it's encouraging desensitization to effects. And then he talked to the kid. He said, okay, so why did you do that? Why were you being so violent in the game? And he was explaining, well, no, it's a bug in the game, right? And it's a way to quickly get the taxi mission done, because it's really annoying waiting for people to get in your taxi. You pull over and you got to do this particular thing. However, there's a kind of min-maxing you can do, a cheat mode where you hit the pedestrian in the game, but the pedestrian AI isn't smart enough to know it's been hit by this taxi. It wakes up and then gets in your taxi. So it's an easy way to finish the game. So what was interesting there was, on the surface, it looks like the meaning of that is, games create violent effect. But the gamer wasn't playing it for the thrill of being violent. He was playing it to finish the mission as quick as
It's
possible.
like playing a puzzle.
Yeah.
This is one way to finish the puzzle.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or the
Yeah.
kid was just lying.
Yeah, or just like...
I choose not to believe that. But it's so interesting. Yeah. So I do think there's a direction here. There's a little acorn here in this idea that I would like to think of applying to Media Mothership. I mean, at the moment, we're deep diving into radio dramas and creating a little production studio that people are going to be performing radio dramas. I'm waiting for the moment that the Theatre Royale
Royale.
with cheese does one of our Sherlock scripts as its 1 month tour, right? The Australian Shakespeare community performs anyway. So yeah, we're doing that. But one of the other projects I've got is this project, right? Where what we're going to do is go into video games and interview people in these video games as journalists. So we go into GTA. No, we go into Call of Duty as war correspondents, abiding by war correspondence rules, and interview some of the really hardcore clans in character, role playing it, and seeing how that goes. Like, can you play Call of Duty as a journalist, abiding by journalist conventions, so the Geneva Convention, well, whatever abides, like don't shoot people. Right, as a journalist, like journalists don't shoot people. They're kind of non-combatants, right? Can you do anything in a Call of Duty game, and interview people like that? That'd be fascinating.
It would.
And we'll play it on air,
Interesting.
and we'll see how long we live.
Not long. That's my prediction.
Probably. All right. All right, welcome back here to Edge Radio 99.3. This is Media Mothership with Dr. Craig, joined by Lord Taylor and B.A. Zeke.
What up?
Greetings.
News story number 2, I love, right? Because it's just, I mean, again, talking about those different ways of defining words, like what is anime. This one is about a Twitch streamer that was immediately denied from getting a bank account after accidentally applying as an adult entertainer.
Oh, God.
So the story is this Twitch streamer who's called Pooper Noodle. Pooper Noodle. Do you watch Pooper Noodle?
No. Although that name is unfortunate considering what this story is about as well.
Yeah. Ooh. Let's not put any such terms. Okay, so Twitch streamer called Pooper Noodle applied for a bank account. She chose adult online entertainer as her occupation, right? As she was going through the bank application process, she was, as you've always done, you're presented with this list, teacher, bank person, others. And she thought, well, I'm a Twitch streamer. Nothing else really applies to being a Twitch streamer. Oh, adult online entertainer. I'm an adult. I'm online, and I provide entertainment. Perfect. So she put that in, and then she says the bank immediately rejected the application. And it was only when she was talking to her mother later that she realized that adult entertainer meant sex worker. And so she felt very frustrated about this. What's interesting to me about this, though, is that it's one of these classic moments where these words, like words are just useless sometimes to describe reality. So I can understand why adult online entertainer to the Twitch streamer does not mean sex worker.
Yeah. I think to anyone who doesn't know that that's what that means, you would assume that it just means, you wouldn't even know what it means, I think.
Yeah,
just adult entertainer, what does that refer to?
Totally. You could, the Kardashians, their influences. And it is one of these beautiful moments where we can see how imperfect language is to explain the world around us, but also the consequences of that, right? Like, I think her definition is valid.
Yeah.
But she has zero power in this in this conversation. The bank has all the power, and as we know when we're putting in bank applications, there's always that moment of kind of self-judgment, like, okay, I want to get this from the bank, so I got to make sure I present myself well. I want the bank to see me as a particular person, so I get what I want from them. And so it is fascinating when it fails so remarkably like this, where the bank sees the value, like it's a value thing, right? So the Twitch streamer saw adult entertainer, online entertainer as a positive value, and the bank sees it immediately as negative. It's like you can't apply for an account if you're a sex worker, which problematic.
Yeah, it is quite shocking.
Are we adult online entertainers?
No,
I'm not.
We're adults.
I'm not gonna say yay or nay that based on this story
I mean,
title.
I think that's the wonderful kind of messiness of this, and I think also there's this interesting idea within this article of the seriousness and humor of it, right? The fact that the article takes delight in talking about the Twitch streamer's name is Pooper Noodle, and it's doing something as serious as applying for a bank. Yeah, it's your credit history. Once you start getting rejected from banks, I am assuming it would stick to your credit history.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, there's a kind of contrast there between just playfulness, right? She's a Twitch streamer, she's young, here's a term, and the seriousness. The formal setting, a bank application, the consequences that might have, and I guess the powerlessness in that scenario, right? You feel like a bit of a deal, but also, you've been judged.
Yeah, that sucks.
I'm going to use it. Well, maybe we could be part of the agents of change. I will now hashtag adult online entertainer for all of our content.
I mean,
I reckon our views will go up through the roof.
There might be an audience that will translate over from that hashtag to us. They might stick around.
I think they'll feel very satisfied
Yeah.
with the content that we're providing. It would meet their expectations of what they'd imagine an adult online entertainer will provide.
Yeah.
Media Mothership. Adult online entertainers. Hashtag.
I'm speaking as little as I can, so when this is read out in court, I'm not here.
Okay. No, gotta go back to the start of the song. Alrighty. Okay, well, welcome back to Media Mothership on Edge Radio 99.3. Last story I want to go over is why you shouldn't trust AI detectors. So this is a story talking about how AI detectors tools that are being used to identify whether a text was written by a human or a bot. As we've all been part of education systems, we know about one of those tools, Turnitin, which is used to detect plagiarism. What's interesting now is that there are various software providers offering AI detectors, which can be run to detect if a student's homework was written by a bot. Now, what's interesting about this article is that it talks about how these detectors, which use large language models, similar to the ones we trained the Sherlock Holmes dramas on, to analyze text for patterns, word choice, and tone, have been found to, more often than not be reliable. And the mistakes they're making cause quite a bit of harm, right? There's a number of tweets in this article talking about how, there was one talking about a 52-year-old kind of grandma, person who was flagged as being submitting work for a bot, and didn't even know what chatbots were, and was saying, how this assignment which they scored 0 on because the software just flagged it as being created by bots. There's many other cases of people, slaving away at an essay, getting 0, and struggling to defend themselves because the tracking software was incorrect. And I think if anything, the Sherlock Holmes stories we've been creating have shown the limitations of this. What's the type of, you're currently doing a master's, what's the type of vetting assignments go through at the moment? Turnitin here, any AI detection software?
I think it's just Turnitin, yeah.
Would you be tempted? There was an interesting story I was reading about a guy that was talking about how he creates his blog posts. And I think I mentioned this to you yesterday, where he uses the chatbot to generate ideas, then he uses the chatbot to generate definitions, then he uses the chatbot to create content, which he then rewrites. But then he puts it through 3 or 4 different detectors, a plagiarism detector to make sure he's not plagiarizing, and then 2 or 3 AI bot detectors to strip away how they're decoding it as human or bot, just so he arrives at a human text by the end of it. At which point I think, why not just write it to start with? That's so much work.
Yeah.
Once you're going through a number of vetting processes and then re-editing it. But I guess what's interesting here is this article is also pointing out that people that do write it themselves are getting, misflagged, incorrectly flagged as being AI.
Yeah, it's interesting when I submitted assignments to Turnitin. I'd always find that, for some reason, it would flag stuff that is cited. I'd have citations, and it'd be like, "This is plagiarism." I go, "Well, that's cited."
Yeah, this is false flag, man. There's the
citation right there.
little bracket to name and
exactly.
date
And it
pay.
would also just pick up a bunch of just common words and sentences and stuff. So you just said something because it's required to move into the next thing, and it goes, "That's plagiarized." And you go, "Well, it's a very common sentence, so that explains why." And I remember writing it myself, so that's not the case. But yeah, so
Did you end up changing it? Like those ones which were like a dark and stormy night. Yes, it's plagiarized, but
no, I think I usually just kept it the same because I assumed that if people look at this, they're not going to go, "Oh my god, there's whatever." And it was never a high percentage, but you'd look at it and go "Oh well, that's cited. This is a common word. This is whatever." But I just found it interesting that everything goes through that, and yet it picks up these things. It's easy to look at it and go, "Oh, that's not plagiarism. That's not plagiarism." But it's interesting when you just look at the score. It's "Oh, here's your score of plagiarism." But you're actually, it says maybe 15%, but actually it's probably 5% because 10% of it's just stuff that's definitely is cited and is your own work. Yeah.
And there's a little color. There's a big color associated with that. So that percentage might be the difference from being a healthy green to a scary yellow or heaven forbid a red. It's and if you've got a lecturer,
well, the red that might be going beyond the realm of return to go into the red.
Yeah, lecturer, you'll be lucky if they even look at your work.
Yeah, exactly.
0. Good luck, mate.
Yeah.
Quick cut and paste little comment there. See the lecture coordinator. Bastard. Look, I guess the takeaway there is, human experts are still needed.
Well, as it says in the article, it's quite interesting. They put the Constitution of the United States through an AI detector and found that 92.26% was written by AI.
And this is the Constitution of the United States, written well before computers.
Well, you never know. Maybe they...
time travel.
Yeah. Maybe they were robots.
Oh, we're talking alien robots?
Maybe, yeah. Founding fathers.
Media Mothership.
Yeah, Media Mothership, where news meets aliens. It's one of my taglines I'm just trying out there. I thought that was smooth. We come in peace. And journalism.
Yeah.
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 And founding
fathers. All right, well, I'll get the AI chatbot to do a funny version of these slogans. And I don't know.
I've searched and examined.
Yes, we know. I don't know how to do this easily. Yes. interrupting me. Part 2 of Media Mothership here on Edge Radio 90.3, making media experiments with AI chatbots. So, chatbots are becoming increasingly relevant and important today. As we've discussed over the last few shows, they've made impacts on art, writing, business. So we're experimenting with a couple of recurrent neural networks.
Recurrent.
Yep, recurrent. To work on scripts from Sherlock Holmes from the 1940s, and we created our own Sherlock Holmes drama. So in this episode, this section, we're looking at how deconstructionism possibly could be applied to unpack the experiments we've been doing. All right, so what I want to do now is take us through why I think deconstructionism could be useful as a theory. So it's postmodern theory, but there were two things that happened to me as I was exploring and testing the work we've made. I'll quickly play the original piece.
Which we've heard the start of a couple of times now.
Well, will I should I? Oh, yes, I will.
I've searched and examined everywhere, but I still haven't found Santa Claus.
What about his hat, Watson?
No, I have not found his hat.
Come on, Watson. We need his hat.
All right, well, look, I'll count that because I do feel like I've done this so many times. All right, hat. So what happens next? They try and find the
Octagonal
chicken.
square.
And there's a
chicken.
diamond chicken robot. No robots.
No robots.
Diamond emerald chicken.
Chicken.
Yeah, or ruby chicken. All
Ruby
right.
chicken, yes.
So then I asked ChatGPT to, explain this radio script in terms of the theory of ideology. Okay, so it came up with some really interesting points. So I'm going to play it now and talk about why I think it's interesting.
This story is clearly meant to be a parody of Sherlock Holmes, as it uses absurd dialogue, nonsensical plot elements, and exaggerated characterization to mock the original stories. The story also attempts to link itself to the theory of ideology, which is a set of ideas that shape one's perception of reality and justify one's actions and beliefs. The story could be interpreted as a critique of the dominant ideology of Victorian Britain, which was based on imperialism, capitalism, patriarchy, and rationalism.
It's that last one that's important. Rationalism. Remember that.
Okay.
The story could be seen as exposing the contradictions and absurdities of this ideology by showing how Holmes and Watson are deluded by their own fantasies and prejudices. For example, Holmes believes that he can summon Santa Claus by rubbing his hat, which could be seen as a symbol of his childish faith in authority and order.
I don't think Holmes does have a childish faith in, but he does believe in rationalism and inquiry. So that's the beginning of that script where there's this nonsensical thing about him finding Santa and rubbing the hat.
Watson follows Holmes blindly, even when he insults him or makes him do ridiculous things, which could be seen as a symbol of his loyalty and obedience to the British Empire.
That's a stretch.
Yeah. But it is weird. I mean, look, the way Watson behaves in the AI drama is weird, right?
That's true.
That he is so aspects of. I mean, I guess Holmes behaves weirdly, and then Watson says weird stuff, but doesn't kind of react to it.
The story also mocks the rationality and logic that Holmes is famous for, by making him say and do irrational and illogical things, such as singing Good King Wenceslas or accusing Mrs. Rush of stealing a diamond and ruby chicken. The story also plays with gender roles and stereotypes, by having Holmes call Watson my dear goose or my dear sir, or having Watson refer to Holmes as you're a scoundrel or you've broken your wife.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a queering, very clear misogyny, and a bit of a queering of the characters, I felt.
The story also introduces elements of anarchy and chaos into the orderly world of Sherlock Holmes, such as canoes, measles, vinegar police, and octagonal squares.
Yeah, and that stuff's great, because none of that was in the original coding we gave. None of that was in the original scripts. And it was just putting that chaos into it. So it was a beautiful interpretation that the AI did of the text in terms of, what we'd hoped for, right? We chose a really kind of alpha, beta version of software to train it with, and it created something quite nonsensical. And then, what's interesting getting it tested through concept like ideology is that it identified that idea of the irrationality of the text and how that was, obviously not at all a fit with a super rational character like Holmes. So the next thing so that was weird. I was thinking, okay, that's a really nice piece, right? That it's said that what's interesting about this work is that it can have a political statement, or like a postmodern political statement that's saying, we define Holmes as rational. What happens if he behaves irrationally, right? Why does that get us to question? So then I asked ChatGPT, just without connected to that radio drama piece, to write another version of it which fitted the Joseph Campbell Hero's Quest concept. So we'll play that now. At the end of it's the interesting. It goes for 2 minutes 14. It does drag a bit. But it's really interesting, the end of it, with Sherlock Holmes kind of concluding what's going on here.
Opening music. Narrator. Welcome to The Hero's Journey, a radio drama inspired by Joseph Campbell's iconic storytelling framework. Today, we bring you the story of the legendary detective, Sherlock Holmes, who embarks on a mystery that will test his wit and challenge his perception of reality. Sound of footsteps. Narrator. Meet Holmes and Watson, two inseparable companions who have solved countless cases together. One day, Holmes receives a strange request from an anonymous client who claims that his diamond and ruby chicken has been stolen.
Watson, we have a new case. Someone has stolen a valuable chicken.
A chicken? That seems like a trivial matter, Holmes.
Not just any chicken, Watson. This chicken is adorned with precious gems. We must find it before it's too late.
Narrator. The duo sets off on a journey across London, following a trail of clues that leads them to the doorstep of Mrs. Rush, a peculiar woman who runs a canoe rental business.
Mrs. Rush, did you steal the diamond and ruby chicken?
Me? Steal a chicken? I have no idea what you're talking about, Mr. Holmes.
Holmes, this is getting absurd. We're interrogating a canoe rental owner about a stolen chicken.
Watson, we must explore every lead, no matter how bizarre it may seem.
As the investigation intensifies, the scuffle between Holmes and Watson subsides, revealing a surprising twist that no one could have foreseen.
Watson, I have a confession to make. This whole case was a ruse, a mere diversion to distract us from a much larger conspiracy.
What conspiracy, Holmes?
The conspiracy to undermine the credibility of the greatest detective in the world, Sherlock Holmes.
And so, the hero's journey comes to an end, leaving us with a sense of mystery and wonder that only a true master of the art could evoke.
Us. I think it's talking about us at that point. We are the masters of the art. So what I think is really interesting about that is 2 points. The fact that this could be read as being a nice satire of rationalism. We have this irrational play that the AI put together, that Taylor had cobbled together, and we played, and it's completely irrational. And that's interesting because, these characters are not irrational. It's all known for the opposite. Then the Hero's Quest version that I got it to do of that drama, arrived at this kind of breaking of the fourth wall moment where Sherlock Holmes says there's a twist here. This is all a ruse to make me look stupid. That's exactly right. So I think if we keep pushing it, we could arrive at training this AI to be self-aware.
Yeah, consciousness, yeah.
We won't do that, of course. But what I think is interesting is, reading meaning into these are really interesting. Because all the computer is doing is not randomly, it's being trained on this word leads to this word, Holmes is defined as this, I'm creating an interrogation based on, the application of the language training I've gone through. It's not necessarily able to think or understand what Sherlock Holmes means in a way a human reader could, in terms of, you know, the speculations that could be there further to it. But nevertheless, it is arriving at some interesting points around self-awareness. So what I wanted to do now, with my co-hosts' skills, is to take this a step further and do a interview with Holmes and Watson.
Because they're here in the studio now.
They're here in the studio now, with us, right? So we're going to try to do this interview to see how magical making media can be. I think this is going to be a real pinnacle of the show.
Oh yeah.
So okay, so we've got this wonderful little piece that we'll set up. If I can press the buttons, here we go.
Yep, come in, guys.
Yes. All right, and here we go. The new jingle. Okay, welcome back to Media Mothership, where we explore the wonders of artificial intelligence and how it can create news stories for entertainment. Today, we have a very special treat for you. We've invited none other than the world's greatest detective, Sherlock Holmes, and his loyal friend and biographer, Dr. John Watson, to join us in the studios. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Craig. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, thank you for having us.
We are delighted to have you here. We're big fans of your adventures, which have been immortalised in books, movies, TV shows, and of course, radio dramas.
Indeed. I understand that you have been using a new technology to create some of these radio dramas.
That's right. We've been using an AI program that can generate scripts based on your original stories. The results are quite amusing, if not always accurate.
Really? How does it work?
Well, we feed the AI some keywords or a summary of a plot, and it produces a script for us, which we then perform live on air with some sound effects and music.
Fascinating. And what kind of stories does it come up with?
Okay, well, they're usually very, very absurd and nonsensical. For example, we recently did one where you and Watson had to solve the mystery of the subsiding scuffle.
A subsiding scuffle?
Yes, apparently someone was trying to steal a priceless painting from an art gallery, but were interrupted by a scuffle that broke out among the guests. However, the scuffle soon subsided, leaving no trace of the culprit or the painting.
And how did we solve it?
Well, you deduced that the painting was hidden inside the cake that was served at the gallery, and that when you cut the cake open, you revealed the painting.
That's ridiculous.
Indeed. It sounds like a case for Inspector Lestrade, not for me.
Well, that's the beauty of AI. It can create stories that no human would think of.
Or want to think of.
Quite so.
Well, we have another script for you today, if you are willing to give it a try.
Why not? I'm always up for a challenge.
Me too.
Great. The script is based on this summary. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson investigate a series of murders committed by a mysterious figure known as the Hound of the Baskervilles.
Ah, yes. One of our most famous cases.
Indeed.
Well, let's see what the AI has done with it. Here are your scripts. Are you ready?
Ready as ever.
Let's do this.
All right, then. Let's begin.
The Hound of the Baskervilles. A new radio drama by AI. On a dark and stormy night in Dartmoor, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson arrive at Baskerville Hall, where they are greeted by Sir Henry Baskerville, the last surviving member of an ancient family that is cursed by a demonic hound.
I should put applause at the end of that. Oh, hold on. I'll do this. There we go. The unveiling of the interview with Holmes and Watson and ourselves from Media Mothership. I thought it worked well enough.
Yeah.
It's good.
I'm so sorry. I tried to not laugh.
Oh, I think it added a certain human flavour to it. An absurdity. What I found really fun about the script, so this, of course, was a script generated purely by the chatbots, was that it's, again, in a really postmodern way, the drama it created, so we have Holmes and Watson in, and then it sets up this idea that we're going to be doing a live reading with them of a new drama that it's called, what is it? The Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson investigate a series of murders committed by a mysterious figure known as the Hound of the Baskervilles. Then the actual book, The Hound of the Baskervilles, is committing murders, which I think is wonderfully postmodern. That, the text is never complete, right? The text can always have more to it. Fan fiction, AI radio dramas, or in fact, the book itself becomes a murderer. And they go with it. Ah, yes, it's one of my most famous cases. Of course, it's going to be killing people in a weird, literal sense. So then it goes off into this. Actually, the thing that I found stood up really well was when it did, I quite enjoyed the intro to the radio drama.
Yeah.
I thought that was actually a proper radio drama intro. I put a bit of wolf sound effect on the back, and the dramatic music was there. And I said, I could listen to that.
That's pretty good. I like the narrator voice.
Yeah.
That was good.
Davis.
Yeah.
I always cast Davis. I reckon you hear a lot of Davis on our show. His AI voice is the smoothest, I find, from the Clipchamp software I use. Any other surprises from that?
Dead air means no.
I think it could have been a bit more meta, because I did ask them to comment about the subsiding scruffle script, which is notoriously bad. But the AI, so I sent a link to it. I said, and mentioned this link to the script. But the AI didn't read the script and just goes off on an equally, well, not equally, I think slightly more intelligent story about a cake at a gallery opening with a painting inside it.
Well, I think it worked. So
yeah.
If we're not going to be doing more interviews with famous figures and figures from fiction, then we'll be doing it on my show. I'm definitely going to be doing
with
it.
Some K-pop
Yes,
artists?
sure.
All right. Well, I think proof of concept there, and further investigating the impact of postmodernism in AI here on Media Mothership. Let me wrap up properly. I've got a wrap-up script at the end of this show. Thanks for listening. This has been Dr. Craig, joined as always by Lord Taylor and B.A. Zeke.
Hey.
On Media Mothership on Edge Radio. I'm not going to do the main points because I can't remember. Show notes are available for the episode on YouTube and Twitch, as well as your podcast supplier. Next week, I'm really not sure. We're going to do more. I'm going to play more home stuff, I think.
Okay.
I haven't quite finished scratching that itch. So keep listening to Edge Radio. Coming up next, K-Pop Unlimited.
Yeah. It's a good show.
Yeah. With us. So some more music to enjoy there. That's been Edge Radio Media Mothership for another week.